Angie Sue. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Still pretty anxious all the time. I was a little, had just like kind of, just a week where I was struggling a lot, and I was pretty excited to come today and just kind of talk to you about it.
Okay, well, tell me what's been going on. What happened this week for you?
It's just been really stressful at work. I feel like no matter how much I prepare for a presentation, I just always seem to be so anxious about it and just striving to be as perfect as it can be. And it just gives me like panic attacks almost. And when I come home, I still have like anxieties towards like the certain expectations that my mother-in-law has of me, and I just really feel like I have no time for myself to rest and just kind of like sit with my thoughts.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm curious to know, so before we get into this situation, I know last week we touched a little bit, like I know we're still getting to know each other a little bit, and so before I do a deep dive into the situation, I wanted to ask you a couple questions, really quick, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to learn more about you, and so I'm curious to know if you have any children.
No, I don't have any children.
Okay. Let's see. Do you have any brothers or sisters or any siblings?
Yes, I do have two brothers, one older and one younger. So I am the only girl in the middle.
Okay. And I know you mentioned last week that your mother-in-law also lives with you and your husband. Do your brothers live with you also, or is it just your mother-in-law?
It's just my mother-in-law. I moved here from Seoul to marry my husband, who's here, and so I did leave all my family back in Korea.
Wow, I'm sure that's been a very big adjustment for you. But I hope you've enjoyed America so far. Did you have your education out here, or was like all your prior education, did you achieve that in Seoul?
All my prior education was achieved in Seoul. I am a software engineer, so that's what I do for my job. And coming here was definitely a big change. It's nice to have the support of my husband, but I do always miss my family. And then of course it's nice to have his mother-in-law also in the house, just kind of our own little family.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much for being open to answer those questions for me. Going back to what you had said at the beginning of our session today, I know you mentioned that you were feeling very stressed from work and were having panic attacks. Is that correct?
Yes.
Panic attacks. And you also mentioned that you felt the pressures at home as well. Could you tell me a little bit more about where those pressures are coming from?
I think just always needing to fulfill everyone's needs. I have a really hard time like saying no, even when I may need to rest. And so I think just having the constant expectations of me to do certain things or behave a certain way, even when it's not true to me, is like a little difficult to live like that. And I think as well at work, I just don't want to let any of my bosses down, and that's why I always like stay up late, and I haven't been sleeping well because I want everything to be perfect for when I do go to work and present it the next day.
How many hours of sleep would you say that you get a night?
I would would say 4 to 5.
4 to 5. Okay. And you mentioned this feeling of feeling as though you need to be perfect or show up perfectly at work, or whether that be at home for your family. Is there a time that you can think, if you don't mind talking about your childhood, can you think back to a time or an instance where this idea of perfection maybe started or came from, or a time where you felt as though that what you were doing wasn't enough for someone?
I'll say back in Korea, my mother is a piano teacher, and so she of course wanted us to play, and I did enjoy it. There was a specific night where I had come home from school and I was working really hard on a new piece that she had given us. And I was really proud of the progress I made. And so when she came to come see what I'd done, I played it for her, and she just seemed very disappointed. Like, all the hard work that I thought I was doing, it just wasn't good enough. And in that moment, the last thing I wanted to do was disappoint my mom. And so the rest of the night, I stayed up super late just playing the piece until I was dreaming about it, basically. Just so when I could play it for her the next time, it would be perfect. And it definitely impacted my piano career, if you'd say. Just in my performances, I definitely second-guessed myself and was constantly worrying about what everyone else was thinking.
And would you say that you still feel these pressures today?
Yes, it's definitely something that's ingrained in me, and it's hard to really set it aside. I mean, it is who I am, it feels like.
I understand, and I'm sure that's exhausting to feel like you have to be perfect all the time, every day. And so I'm wondering, do you have like a safe space, or do you have a place that you can go to, or a particular friend or family member where you feel as though you don't have to be on top or perfect in a sense all the time?
Yes, I do go to church once a week, and I have a community there of other women who are also Korean. So it does give me like a sense of belonging. Because sometimes at work, like, I feel, too Korean, and like people don't really understand me. So it's nice to have that community where I feel safe, and we can talk about positive things, and just kind of talk about our faith together. So that's definitely like the light of my week.
And you said you only go once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever tried going more, or maybe hanging out with those particular people outside of church?
Not necessarily, just because I feel like I already have so much to do, and it's hard to even go that one time a week. And I think especially telling my family, like, I'm gonna go spend time with these girls and go do something fun, I just think it would just be really hard to kind of justify because of the things that I need to take care of.
I understand. And so thinking about this, these pressures that you feel, and this idea of you needing to be perfect, I want to ask you, if you didn't have these expectations or feel the need, these expectations or pressures, I should say, of being perfect or on top of everything all the time, like, what do you think your life would look like? How do you think you would feel? What do you think it would feel like to not feel the need to be perfect all the time?
I think it would be freeing, but also very like uncomfortable in the beginning. Just because I feel like I get my enjoyment and happiness for doing things for other people. And so although it would feel uncomfortable, I think it would definitely benefit me in some way. I don't even know how I would get there.
Well, like I mentioned last week, as we continue on with sessions, we will be implementing small, tiny goals so that you can work towards them throughout your weeks, or attempt to, even if you can't get to them. We're really gonna, I'm really gonna emphasize and have you try to take tiny steps towards getting to a place where you do feel free and where you do feel more like yourself and without these pressures. So in next session we will be setting and kind of listing and talking about some of these goals furthermore. But I do want to thank you for coming in today and for being so open with me about what's been going on. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.